This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsterette.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsterette.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsterette.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsterette.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsterette.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Learn more about the Brewtubers with Nick Lesogor from Exit 12 Homebrew. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 430. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friends, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com, use that submitted question link at the top of the page. You could email Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com, but even better, call it in to 325-305-6107. When I use your voicemail on a future episode, you'll get yourself a gift card to kegconnection.com. It does not get much better than that. I am your host, Joshua Stubing, and today I am joined by Nick. You told me how to say it. Lesogor, right? Lesogor?
That's close enough.
I wrote it down, and I still did it wrong because I'm borderline special. Anyways, Nick is the VP of the online Brewtubers Homebrewer Club. He's also a passionate homebrewer who manages the Exit 12 Homebrew channel over at youtube.com/Exit12 Homebrewer, and 12 is numerical, 1, 2. We most of our listeners are listeners. They're not watching this on YouTube, so I have to make sure they understand it. I don't know anyone who hears a number and wants to spell it out, though. Like, that's a special kind of weird, but it's Exit 12 Homebrewer over at YouTube. Nick, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having me. And it's Exit 12 Homebrew, not so. You're going on the YouTube, you want to get rid of the ER on the end that Josh just mentioned. It's Exit 12 Homebrew.
Yeah, no, like I was telling you before the show, do whatever you want, guys. Just do whatever you want. All right, go there, spell it out. I guarantee you, most people don't even, I give direction in regards to like URLs, but everyone just goes to Google or YouTube, and in the search bar, Homebrew Happy Hour is what they type out. So you know what I mean? Like nobody listens to me anyway.
Well, I was just going to say, you'd probably get the page anyway if you put in Homebrewer, but maybe there's a copyright situation I can funnel through there.
Probably, right? Nick, though, my friend, thank you so much. I do appreciate your time. I'm not going to assume that you watch the show, so let me fill you in real quick. We're going to get to the meat and potatoes of what you do with your channel, the whole online community thing, the cool stuff y'all are doing at Brewtubers as a community. But before that, we have a small talk portion so I can get through just some housekeeping. Whenever we have guests on, I get through it in record time. If you go look at the 1-star reviews our show has, it's either about me as a person, which I do take personally. It's rude. Right. Dragonfly Lady 722, whatever you are, I'm coming for you. Or it's about the small talk. Josh, you dragged it out. Just get to the questions. And I'm like, there's chapters on here. Y'all can click through. There's fast forward buttons on every podcasting app known to man. Either way, they always complain, but since you're a guest and your time is valuable, I'm going to get through it quick, so just bear with me for a couple minutes. My friends, if you go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, join a recipe receiving tier right here on the screen, you're going to get the Dusseldorf Alt beer shipped out to your house at the end of the month. Again, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join the recipe receiving tier. Thank you to our sponsors, Muntons, hopsdirect.com, and of course, Imperial Yeast for providing the premium ingredients that make these kits so great. Also, Brew Day live screen. It is blank, but I'll just tell y'all, we're going to do it Friday, May 23rd. My pop and I are going to be brewing that delicious Dusseldorf Alt beer. That's a mouthful. Over at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Spell it however you want. Just go to the search bar and type in Homebrew Happy Hour. You'll find it. 10 a.m. Central, May 23rd, that Friday. We'll be brewing it for Brew Day Live. And then just some housekeeping stuff for people who have entered Kolsch Cup. That is at the end of this month. Registration's closed, but if you have entered, you need your beer submitted to our headquarters by May 23rd. Go look at your entry details. You'll have the whole address and stuff there, how to ship it to us. Kolsch Cup 2025 is coming up, my friends, on May I guess that'd be the 30th, that Friday is when we're recording it. We're recording it at Todd's Ranch, though. The internet Starlink is not reliable enough with the upload speed, so we'll probably publish it that Saturday. Either way, that'll all be available here at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. And boom, I'm done. That was all the small talk. That was like
that was only about 15 minutes. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was not bad, right? I'm gonna in editing, I'm gonna make it in super slow motion so people have to. Anyways,
perfect.
Nick, for people who aren't familiar with you, let's get to know your background first before we go into because you didn't just start out of nothing into Brewtubers, and Brewtubers also didn't start out of nothing. But before we go into that community, you yourself as a home brewer, what got you into the hobby? When did you start brewing? And what was like that experience like? How'd you get bit by the bug, as many of us dudes do?
Yeah, so I was just looking at the sign on my wall, my logo. It says under it, established. I can't remember the year. I want to say it's 2015. So yeah, I started brewing probably 9 or 10 years ago. And the way I got into it was I grew up drinking Miller High Life, like 40-ounce Miller High Life, Edward 40 hands, that type of stuff. I'm a late 80s baby. You know what I mean? So right around, that early 2000s, I was drinking. And so I was going in on that stuff. And it wasn't until I had a roommate, an older roommate, when I lived on my own, that got me interested in Long Trail beer. For anybody in Vermont listening that knows Long Trail. And that's when I realized, there's more on the shelf than just Miller High Life. Although very good at the time. So got into Long Trail, and that kind of got me that got the craft beer wheels spinning. And then I started into learning about Sculpin out of California and drinking that beer. And then I by happenstance, kind of in wanting to find Beer Advocate and beer trading, somebody pulled the wool over my eyes at the time, didn't realize it, and said, "Oh, you want some of this widely available Sculpin? I'm coming into Boston. Why don't you go into the city and get me Trillium?" Trillium at the time was not a well-known brewery, but they were coming up and they were brewing these hazy IPAs I knew nothing about going to the brewery to get beer, had no idea what that was. I found Trillium for this guy to beer trade for Sculpin. Ended up finding Sculpin at the bottle shop next door, which was a kick in the dick.
That's hilarious.
I went into Trillium. Yeah. So that hurt. But I found Trillium, which was this amazing. They were selling beer in bomber bottles. And this was all new to me. And I remember where I was, who I was with, and what I was drinking when I found Trillium. It was the Fort Point. And the best way I could explain it was a rainbow in my mouth. It was absolutely amazing. Back then, Galaxy wasn't super mass produced. So you were getting these amazing characters of stone fruit and what I found to be stone fruit as I learned more about drinking craft beer. And it was through Trillium that I was like, well, maybe I can brew some of this stuff, without realizing there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to brew Trillium.
You're not doing it.
I don't care what equipment you have as a home brewer, Trillium, Treehouse, all that stuff. It's going to be very difficult to brew. But that's kind of what got the wheels going. And so it was actually a high school best friend of mine that was like, listen, I'm brewing with another friend. Why don't you brew with us and get interested? And so really the way I looked at it at first was almost a glorified tailgating. Like if you were to tailgate for football Sunday, go to the stadium, tailgate, drink beer, play cornhole, like hang out all day. That's kind of how we looked at it. We would smoke a turkey, we would smoke ribs, and then we'd brew the beer. And so I brewed initially cooler and propane system. I jumped right into it.
I was about to ask, you jumped right into it. Wow, you didn't do like a canned extract, Mr. Beer even.
No. Yeah, no, there was no faking the funk, man. We jumped right into it. They were already brewing partial grain. So there was a little bit of DME kind of going on, but really it was partial grain. We were mashing in. We were mashing in at 170 immediately because we had no fucking clue what we were doing. So I remember vividly, Galaxy at the time was very hard to come by. And so the local homebrew store was selling it at 2 ounces a person. We wanted to brew a New England IPA. We're about 6 months to a year into me joining them. They'd only been doing it themselves for about a year. I came into it. I didn't have to pay anything. They had all the equipment ready. So we're about 6 months in. We go to the homebrew store. They're like, listen, this is 2 ounces per person. And there were 3 of us, and we were like, sweet. So we walked out with 6 ounces of Galaxy, almost immediately wasted it all, because when you're mashing in at 170, that's probably pretty fucking stupid. So the beer turned out basically hop water. It was basically glorified hop water. But we learned a lot. And so what ended up happening was within a year of me getting into it, my cousin Brandon came aboard, and it was the 4 of us. He's actually a cousin by marriage. He's married to my female cousin, and so they have a couple kids. And so at the time, he had come on board. They had just gotten married, or they were dating, and him and I took it to another level. And so we quickly separated from those two just because they weren't as interested as we were. And so him and I took it to another level. And so we fast forward a couple of years, we're really super interested in it. I end up paying about 10 grand to build out my basement, which is what you're seeing here, which is a really poor representation of my brewery, honestly, because it's behind me over the couch. You can't see anything, but paid to have the basement pretty much fully finished. And started brewing electric, going full Robo Brew version 3.1, which at the time, was a system that was really I kind of say turn of the century. I mean, electric brewing at the time was such a new concept. And so we were brewing electric, and then kind of to get more and more serious about it is when I started the YouTube channel. We started a podcast. We did the podcast for about a year, started to get more and more serious. I upgraded to a 65-liter Brewzilla. I won a large sports betting bet recently, about 10 grand, that allowed me to really finish the basement. So we put in a sink. I put in a sink in the basement, and I put in a split system to really finish it, because in New England, brewing without some sort of temperature control, you're, in terms of brewing, I have, fermentation fridges, but brewing without temperature control, you really can only do it when especially when you're relying on outside water. You can really only do it about 6 to 8 months out of the year. You can forget about the winter time. So putting in the sink within the last month, putting in a split system within the last month has allowed me to start brewing 12 months a year. So it's been an awesome, fun ride.
Did you hit the trifecta for the Kentucky Derby? Is that what happened? Is that the...
It was a, long story short, man, it was actually more ridiculous than that, believe it or not. It was a King of the End Zone DraftKings promotion that allowed you to bet as little as $5 on the player that would score the longest touchdown. It was the first week of this past playoffs, so it was the most games going. And I had bet Curtis Samuel, the Buffalo Bills, to score the longest touchdown of the day of all the games across the playoff slate. And so with about 2 minutes left, the Bills are up by 20 some odd points. And Josh Allen throws a slant route. He breaks a couple of tackles. I believe they were playing Miami or the Jaguars. I can't remember what team. Takes it 55 yards to the house. Now, it's the first game of the day. I don't have any illusions that I'm going to win any type of promotion, but the promotion was anybody who bet the winning player would split $1 million in bonus bets. And so at the time, I was in the lead. I didn't think anything of it. Come to find out, I'm watching the Eagles game. Last game of the day, I'm still winning. At the time, I don't know how much money I'm really going to win.
Of course.
Nobody knows. It's like one of the first promotions they're doing, right? And so the Eagles are up big. They're on their own 20. Saquon breaks a tackle. He's taking it, going to take it 80 yards for a touchdown. I lose. Again, it's not a big deal because I don't know how much I'm going to win. This dumb fuck slides to run the clock out, and I end up winning the bet.
You're dancing. You're like, wait.
In honesty, I wasn't even dancing because I didn't know it could have been $200 in bonus bets. It could have been, I had no idea because I don't know how many other people bet Curtis Samuel. So it wasn't until the next day. It's not like it goes in your account immediately and it wasn't until the next day when I'm at work at a brand new job I had just started a month beforehand where I get an email that says you won $13,000 in bonus bets. So immediately I pretty much catch wood, and I can't believe it. Internally, I'm losing my mind. I text my cousin, "We're rich. We're fucking rich. I can't believe we hit it." Yeah. So I end up turning that $13,000 because they're bonus bets. You can't just pull that money.
You can't cash, right? For sure.
I have to bet it. So I basically wasted $1,000 almost immediately because they give it to you in $1,000 increments. So I have 13 $1,000 bonus bets essentially, and so I end up losing $1,000 immediately on a parlay because I'm not a good sports bettor. And so then I take the rest of the money and I hedge my bets on a 2-leg parlay in the AFC Championship game, Buffalo and Baltimore, because you only have a certain amount of time before you have to use the bonus bets or else you lose them. So I ended up flipping what ended up being it was like 11 or 12,000 into $8,000. I cashed on the $8,000. I won another $1,000 on the Super Bowl because I had a future that I had bet back in September. And then I won $1,000 in March Madness on a future on March Madness. So I end up with $10,000 all said and done before I started.
And a crippling gambling addiction. This is great.
So to that point, I gotta tell you, winning $200 on a $20 bet just doesn't get my dick hard.
Yeah, right. I went to Vegas with my pop twice last year. Once for Craft Brewers Conference, actual work, and the other for this grappling thing because I like wrestling with men and to watch. So
same.
Yeah.
Big WWE fan.
Yeah. I do jiu-jitsu, but I grew up. I love WWE. I mean, I watch the main stuff now, especially now it's on Peacock. I used to get always WrestleMania, but I'd always feel left out because I didn't know the storylines. But you have to watch WrestleMania. You have to watch WrestleMania.
And Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Royal Rumble too, pardon me. Absolutely.
There's been years where I don't watch wrestling. Yeah. I always watch Royal Rumble and I always watch WrestleMania.
Every time, yeah. But we went to Vegas and I think I lost $100 in like 10 minutes. And I was like, this sucks. And he goes, you know what? I'm glad you lost quick and hate it because if you would have won like quick or at all, like a good amount of money, I'm afraid, you'd have because I have an addictive personality. Like gambling, I was like, wait, so I put this in here. We were doing slots, which like we were like my pop's a boomer. So we were hanging out with the boomers and just ding, 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 ding. And then I'm watching it go down from 100 credits to 0 in 15 minutes and just like, what, this is fun. Oh yeah, son. Did you have a good time? No, that was terrible. But
yeah, see, that's kind of to your point. The casino aspect. I've been to Vegas a couple of times. I'm not a big partier. I'm not a big Vegas guy.
Right, same.
Like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, like all that bullshit.
Yeah.
So going into the casino and losing, 100, like I went to Saratoga Springs for a bachelor party recently and I went in and I immediately lost $100. And I was like, well, to your point, I'm going, well, this is stupid.
This is stupid.
Like I'd rather take that $100 and put it on a 3-hour game, bet the over and bet the Lakers. And at least I have a dog in the fight.
It gives you some, March Madness for me is just like, a $10 pool or whatever. And it makes me interested in the games. And that's it. Yeah. That's all I can ask for. Anyways, yeah. I like it because you will take me and digress with me, and everyone will be like, I thought you were going to talk about homebrew. And I'm like, no.
This podcast is going to go 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we're talking to
when you mentioned that.
Yeah, the Degenerate Gambler Happy Hour brought to you by DraftKings. Anyway, so
I guess we have a new podcast.
We're starting a new podcast next week. Yeah. The first batch, I know you said you used Galaxy. I'm assuming y'all were trying to go for some New England IPA or whatever on your on your first batch. Was it the, you kind of, when we jump forward where you're talking about how then you went electric brewing, but was that first failed batch like you frustrated, like I got to get this figured out? Because a lot of the times people say their first batch, if like I know people who didn't get into home brewing and they're still into craft beer because their first batch was so bad, they were just like, commercial brewers do it better, whatever, I'm done. But for you, was it like I got to get this figured out? And then that's what kind of snowballed into this obsession.
So, yeah, I may have misrepresented what I said. I had been brewing with them for probably about 6 months before we did that Galaxy New England.
Got you.
And the beers that we had, the beers that we were brewing were turning out pretty good. I think at the time we were like, holy shit, like this beer's like good. I mean, wow, because you got to remember too, in a cooler system, it's not a guaranteed science the way that electric is. And even electric has its downsides. And so, especially as it relates to temperature. So, the beers we were brewing weren't all necessarily being mashed in at 170. It was that I vividly remember that beer specifically. But what I can tell you is like the first 6 months to a year, we really didn't have any drain pours. The beers that weren't good, we had to throw. Like you did. It's a rite of passage for every home brewer. Like if you're serious about it, the first 6 months, you're going to brew stinkers. You got to drink through them. It is what it is. So yeah, not as much diacetyl, but a lot of like hop phenolic, a lot of overly bitter, a lot of not really knowing, we knew the 60-minute edition, but like we dry hopped a beer once with whole cone hops that it turned out like shit because, we didn't properly, when we picked the hops, we let them sit around for a while. You weren't packaging them, no oxygen, throwing them in the freezer, like there wasn't that type of, brewing going on. At the same time, the beers weren't so bad. I'd say out of 10 beers that we would brew, I'd say 7 of them or 6 of them were drinkable. And then the last 3 or 4 had pretty major. The flaws ranged from okay to pretty major. We were drinking through them anyway, and then you're talking about, we didn't have canning systems at the time. This is 10 years ago. We really didn't even have bottling. So you're bottling, you're growlering off the tap, which now, if you were to do that for somebody that knew anything worth about home brewing, they'd go, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Like you don't have a canner, even though you're not bottling. Like, so we were doing things back then that were a lot different, so it's, all that to say the brewing those bad batches, it only intrigued me even more. We're also doing a lot of experimenting. There wasn't a whole lot of brewing to style, Josh. It was a lot of like, oh, Thanksgiving's coming up. Let's do a Thanksgiving brown ale with sage, thyme, rosemary, which turned out savory, but pretty good. Like there was a lot of experimenting. We weren't doing a lot of like, let's brew a 2-style Pilsner. Like, no, that's what I'm doing now because I've been brewing for 10 years. I want to brew to style. But like a lot of it was like, oh, you want to throw fruit in it? Yeah. What do you got in your fridge? Well, let's do it. Kind of thing.
That's fantastic. I do. Absolutely. And with that being said, I'm a slave to true to style because I'm a coward of experimentation. And also full transparency. Like I happen to have the books on my desk. I brew predominantly Kolsch. I would just drink this all day, every day. I have a couple batches already under my belt for this year. I'm willing to do another one too, just because I like predictable, easy drinking. But
but to that point, and not to cut you off, but I was going to say to that point, I agree with you because like again, 10 years into doing this, the challenge is brewing the style now. Like it's easy now to throw blueberry into something. Maybe not blueberry's not the best example because it's such a hard fruit to brew with, but pineapple, it's easy to throw because it's super sweet. You know what you're going to get. It's harder now. Like I do a honey blonde ale that uses real honey that like was I hit it on the first recipe and that's awesome, right? Like you hit it, you brewed a great one, but like I've brewed beers 2-style. It took me a while to get my brown ale. It took a while to get like a 2-style English brown ale that was competition worthy that I'm hitting on, right? So to that point, And it wasn't until this year, because if you look on my YouTube channel, if you look on the Brew Day playlist that I have, a lot of it lately has been the honey blonde ale, changing up a process on my, like the big getter of people watching, of trying to loop you in, is that I changed like how I'm mashing, like, because learning the 65 liter system, I've only had it for a little bit over a year. So it's been a lot of like blueberry Hefe, which is a core beer that I brew, a house beer, my honey blonde ale house beer. It's been those two beers, especially during the summer, that are like all my Brew Day videos. And I'm like, well, obviously people are going to stop watching the blonde ale again, dickhead. Like, I don't want to watch this. So I need to start like, so this year I've been trying to like more experimenting, right? So I've been, I had a New England IPA video I brewed recently that I have on tap now with Pomona yeast from Lallemand, which is a brand new yeast, and Crush hops, which are brand new hops. The reality is the beer didn't turn out that good. And that's also like my standards being high, because I've been brewing for 10 years, right? I think that's part of it. But also it's like you're brewing with a new hop, you're brewing with a new yeast. The beer is going to be a big experiment because these things are new. But I also think that's what people want to watch. They want to see what the new ingredients look and taste like according to the person brewing it.
That's right? A good point. That I don't think like a content creator and then I wonder, because so the podcast itself, that is what we started with, right? And audio only for the first maybe even 100 episodes, or it was 50 episodes, and that's still where the vast majority of people consume it. And I've never, even when we do the videos, our most popular videos are the very short, or like 8 minutes or less, showcase about some product or this. And then when I'm doing brew centric videos, I'm not thinking like a content creator of like, what would somebody want to, I'm thinking of selfishly like, we're going to do another Kolsch today. And then like wonder why nobody watches, because like, Josh, we've seen you do a Kolsch 10,000 times, bud. Like, what are you doing?
And right. And to that point, that's where I was at, yes, I was like, I want to brew for me. If I'm going to brew for me, I'm going to record for me. Like, there's only so much time you can get down to the brewery. There's only so much fermentation space, all this stuff. So like, I can't do a blonde ale and then in the next week do something that people are going to want to watch. I need to brew whatever I'm brewing is what I'm recording, right?
Yeah.
I don't have all this space. So yeah. And also like, your 8-minute videos, like I'm doing long form, no joke, 45-hour long, like grain to glass videos. So like the reality is nobody is sitting down unless you're like really passionate about brewing, which there is a segment. But if you think about it, I'm so fucking dumb that I am pandering to the lowest common denominator. Like I'm pandering to the people that want to watch hour-long videos that are that into home brewing is a less than a percentage of the home brewers. Like people that are watching YouTube videos, I find generally either fast forward to like what you're showing them that's a value add for them because they have the 65 liter Brewzilla. So they want to see the changes you've made to get closer of a temperature differential between the wrap temperature probe and the build-in. They don't care how the beer turns out. They don't care what your taste characteristics are. And that's because they're not going to get the beer. So why do they care? Reasonable. All reasonable. With that said, I'm still a moron because I'm doing 45-minute West Coast IPA grain to glass videos. Every now and then you hit on one, depending on when I release it. Like I think that one's got 1,000 views and it's been up for 2 or 3 months, which for me is a big get. 1,000 views for me is huge, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
Like that's an aberration from the standard.
Oh, for sure. There have been time because up until January of this year, the guy I worked for, Todd, he had ketconnection.com, like owned it. He sold the website, but so I would get hit up all the time from influencers or whatnot because I'm running the marketing, and they're not big name at all, and I won't name names because it'll embarrass everyone and bring out the pitchforks, but they're trying to tell me their reach, and it was like, oh yeah, we get our podcast gets like 255,000 downloads a week and per episode and this and this and this, and I was like, no, you don't. Like, no, you don't. Like, maybe a bot farm, but no, the even I go on Reddit every now and then. I have a love-hate relationship with Reddit because they hate me. And I say they hate me. I think Reddit just hates people. But
I was going to say that love-hate relationship is everyone.
Everyone.
Sure
Reddit. Yeah. If I want to be self-loathing, I log on to Reddit and it's like, right. But like there's like 1 million and some odd, people in the homebrewing subreddit. I'm like, no, there's not. No, there's not. Like I just don't, because being in the retail side of it for 17 years, I don't know what they're doing. Like if they was a real people, if they actually exist or are actually passionate about brewing, because local homebrew supply shop, they're certainly not supporting most of their local homebrew supply shops. They're not.
Also, not only that, but you're constantly seeing on Facebook Marketplace people getting out of the
That's
hobby.
What I mean. Exactly.
They're constantly posting full systems and, like canners and all this stuff you're able to get. So between that and smaller microbreweries closing, like I'm able to get some really good stuff at a great deal, which sucks. I feel bad, but like, if I don't buy it, someone else.
It's a Venn diagram.
And also like I'm finding even with the club, and we'll get into it, but like sponsors, it's harder to come by sponsors now because they have to cut money somewhere, right? So like, yeah, sure, the Reddit may have however many hundreds of thousands, but the reality is that company may have so many downloads, which I agree with you is not accurate. But the reality is like people are getting out of the hobby.
Yeah. They are
pretty fast. So.
They are, and it is unfortunate. I meant to ask you to rewind just a little. When you first started with these guys, because it's a group, you said you were doing it in a cooler, but was it 5-gallon batches still, or were y'all doing large batches to split amongst each other? What size batches did y'all start, and then what are you at now? Oh, you said you're on the 60. Never mind. How did you start? You already answered the second part.
The 60. I do switch between 5 and 10. Like my more core beers are going to be the honey blonde ale and the blueberry wheat that I do are 10 gallons when I brew them, if I have the fermentation space. So in the beginning it was 5-gallon batches, and what we would do is my buddy and I would drive over to our third friend's house and we would grab growlers when we wanted to. Generally we would do it when it was like brew days. So you kind of get a twofer there. You're brewing a beer and then you can grab some growlers off of the tap,
Yeah, my co-hosts Todd and James, they both have self-built that we used to sell them called the Brewtuber, the 3-vessel Herms. They're both doing 17-ish or 15 to 17-ish gallon batches because Todd hosts so many people. He goes through beer like that. My pop and I do 10-gallon batches. I brew on a G40. And I would love to hear after this, I'll segue us to your opinions on just the wonders of electric brewing, because it's been game changing for me and my pop. But we do 10 gallons because it's the two of us, and even though we mostly consume it over there, it's a good, the brewing from 5 to 10 for what we're doing, these lighter styles, not much more work, right? It's a little bit heavier of a grain basket, and that's about it. But the time and all that, it's not that bad. But yeah, segueing. Electric brewing, when you switch to that, did that just really accelerate the desire to brew and whatnot? Because for me, brewing on this electric all-in-one just made me, especially, the bells and whistles that come with some of them and the handhold. I mean, it really is like modern technology has made this the best time ever to be a home brewer that's alive, like ever in the history of man, because this piece of equipment has just made it so streamlined my brew day. So is that how you felt too when you switched to electric? Like, oh my God, okay, perfect, here we go. Now I'm dialing in every recipe and being able to be consistently. If that made sense.
Yeah, I wish I could share in your excitement. The system itself was great. Dialing in my yields and my efficiency was it was like banging my head against the wall constantly.
Really?
Yeah, and to be fair, it wasn't necessarily a guaranteed science when I started brewing in the cooler system either. But really, it was understanding brewing software. It was understanding, what a boil off really meant, cooling loss, what that was. And so I'd say, as pathetic as it sounds, the first, I'd say 2 years of brewing electric, I was constantly far under 5 gallons. I would say I would have been lucky to get 3.5 gallons in the keg.
No kidding.
And because what I found I was doing was when I would try to increase my yield, like the boiling yield, what I found was the beer was coming out less alcoholic. And so it was making it so that I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get I was fine getting regular amounts, like a regular a low yield, 3.5 gallons, if I was getting a mid-strength beer, as opposed to going up and finding that my efficiency was suffering. And so what I really, 10 years in, it really is when I think about it, and I don't think about it often just because we're talking about it, reflecting back then was just how fucking dumb I was. Because what it comes down to is it's really just having a solid grind on your mill.
Yes.
And making sure that your quart to pound ratios are on point. And as long as you have that stuff, you're going to be fine, And so, yeah, that's what a lot of it was. So it was great. What I found back then, and what I really find the more I use these all-in-one systems and have been doing so for, 6 to 8 years, is that it's the perfect middle ground between the cooler system where you're doing everything and the Pico brew which is pathetic, which is you're just setting it and forgetting it. And I find it's the perfect middle ground, especially if you're not, like if you're doing everything yourself. The Brewzilla has the wrapped portal. And so you, in theory, could set it and forget it. And that's not something I do. I find that there's a lot more talent and value in being able to constantly sitting over the pot in looking at your temperatures and making sure that your boil looks good and everything else. Right. And so I find that the all-in-one system, to what you said earlier, it was really great and really allowed me to brew indoors in New England, which is great, but it's really that great middle ground.
And are you doing brew in a bag? Like a lot of people, I'm learning, I'm not doing brew in a bag, but every now and then somebody will join our chat for a Brew Day Live and be like, mate, you should be doing a brew in a bag on that system. I'm like, it's been working for us fine, whatever. But a lot of all-in-one guys do brew in a bag, apparently.
So the guy that is critical of the brew in a bag is from the UK, I take it.
Oh no, I mean, no, Mississippi. I think that was my Mississippi accent. Yeah. I have a speech impediment, Nick. God,
I didn't know people from Mississippi said mate. Fair enough.
He was. I think he was British. Yeah.
A big British contingent in Mississippi. Yeah. So to your point, I think you're probably you or your listeners may have a panic attack. I brew without a brew in a bag, and I brew with no rice hulls. And I
did for the longest time too. Yeah.
What was that?
I said I also, up until this year, or maybe last year, we never used rice hulls. I'm finding I'm enjoying using them, but no, for a long time we didn't. And that was also something else people would point out, like, man, you're going to get stuck mash or whatever. Yeah.
The necessity for rice hulls and all-in-one systems may be the biggest fable ever told in home brewing. Not to get people upset. I haven't used rice hulls. I use rice hulls in my garden now for winterizing. I don't use rice. I remember buying a rice hull bag in a 55-pound, huge, and I go, I'm using all this. I ended up throwing out about 35 pounds of it. This was years ago, because I realized I didn't need them for the all-in-one system. For me, I don't need them. My grind is good enough on my mill. I have an SS Brewtech grain mill. It's good enough on the mill. I can set it as fine or as coarse as I want. And every now and then I may get a stuck recirculation. It's just a matter of mixing up with my metal mash paddle. I mix it up, I pop it back on, the recirculation, I'm good to go. So I haven't needed rice hulls in years.
I literally didn't interject anything at all because I'm going to use that little minute and a half for a reel and for rage bait. Just
Oh yeah, go ahead. As long as you link me, because I want the views too. Link my YouTube.
You're gonna be a collaborator on the Instagram when I publish that. That's perfect rage bait, man. I didn't even have to direct you. You walked right into it. That was perfect.
Who's this fucking asshole from Boston not using
who's this
rice
guy
hulls?
Think he's
let me comment how I want to kill him and his family.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah. So you are a YouTuber. That's right.
I don't get that feedback quite yet, but although it would be a compliment.
The worst feedback. Yeah, let's segue into that. So for not the feedback, but let's segue into, was starting your YouTube channel a thing of accountability to this hobby that you were wanting to be more serious, or was it just like a way of sharing what you're doing with friends and see if it took off?
So Brewtubers was well established before I came on board. And the reason why I mentioned them in this bit is because I found them on YouTube. And it was actually before I even got into home brewing. I found a video searching. I was at a friend's house in Vermont, and we were searching for these beers from Stone that were Crime and Punishment, they were called. They were hot pepper beers. And he goes, you got to watch some of these reaction videos to some of these idiots drinking this beer. And so we watch, and I found a video of what ended up being a Brewtuber, him and his kids drinking the beer, and their reactions were hilarious. And so that's kind of how and I go, oh, he's also a home brewer. He makes his own beer. And so then I got into, went down a rabbit hole of basically home brewing. And it was right before I got into the hobby. And so I realized pretty quickly how approachable these people were. It wasn't like you email them and you don't hear back. I didn't really understand the concept of brew tubing. I didn't know if they were famous, who they were. And so I really quickly gained relationships with these folks. And so they were like, oh, and it was as I was getting into home brewing, this all happened over time. This didn't happen quickly. It all happened over time. And that's what made me start the YouTube channel, was because I found that there was this online community that was it was rooted in YouTube, but also utilized other other softwares to communicate, like Vaughn Live and WhatsApp. And there was this group, Facebook. There was a Facebook group about Brewtubers, and it gave people a meeting place. And, and this was really when it was just a community. Brewtubers was just a community. It wasn't a homebrew club really at that time. They had started as a homebrew club back in 2011, and it kind of fell by the wayside pretty quickly. And so it then just turned into a community. And so that's how I found them and decided to start the YouTube channel. It was really a way to keep in touch and support one another, and kind of, posting videos about our most recent homebrew goings on.
It's wild too, because I've never met you, and we're not familiar with each other before this. But when I looked at y'all's officers, I was like, oh, I met Dave before I think he was at the HomebrewCon Providence, and I think Chris was there as well, one of your officers. Kurt, who reached out, has submitted questions before. We follow each other on, I was just like, oh wow, okay. I've known about Brewtubers as well, and I think we have crossover. One of my really good buddies in our Trub Club, I am pronouncing it wrong, but I have a speech impediment, so if you correct me, you're a bigot. Lance, our buddy Lance here in Texas, he's a big proponent and about brew tubing, and he may have actually been the one. I know Kurt reached out to me, but he may be the one who last year at the end of the year is like, hey man, you're looking for people to be on the show. Like throwing you guys out there. Like y'all have, it seems like, even though we were just Debbie Downers 20 seconds ago about the hobby dying, it does seem like y'all are trying to do your part in sharing and growing the hobby. So like, what is let's go ahead and segue right to that. The Brewtuber community and online homebrew club. What's the idea behind it, and what is y'all's like mission with this? Is it just sharing what you're doing? Is it to grow the hobby? What is the main goal of Brewtubers?
The mission is to build up our finances enough where I can slowly funnel it out with anybody who notices.
Yeah, that's Homebrew Happy Hour too.
Do a little Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
No. In honesty, and you talked earlier, just a second ago, about us kind of being Debbie Downers about the hobby. The reality is, for me, is the state of the hobby is important to me, but I've never been more interested in home brewing than I am today.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
I've never been more passionate about it than I am today. And it's evidenced by the fact that I won all that money sports gambling on a complete toss up. And my first thought, my wife goes, oh, we're going on a vacation. I go, the fuck we are. I'm finishing the basement, baby. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so my money, not our money.
Oh, and she understood. I mean, she gets it. I'm constantly down here. So like I've never been more interested in the hobby. And I think so restarting the club in 2021 was something that I was passionate about. A brewing partner of mine, and then Gary Fortin, known as Main Brew Guy within Brewtubers. He was basically the person who started Brewtubers initially, got the copyrights for it, etc., so on and so forth. He had been wanting to restart it for a while, especially at the time there was an uptick in the folks that were Brewtubing. At the time, the hobby was seeing an upswing, and so he was really passionate about getting it going again. And so I said, well, I'm more than happy to help out, but if we're going to do it, we got to do it right. And so what we did was, instead of just launching it, we really were thoughtful about it. And the first thing we did was we took a comprehensive list of bylaws and adapted them for the online landscape. And this was really at the time of COVID-19. COVID-19 was well in swing, and we found it as an opportunity because we had the processes built in place. When you think about it, Brewtubers is an online-based homebrew club where you do not need to be on YouTube. You don't need to be a Brewtuber to join. And that was one thing that we changed from how it was back in 2011. We wanted to create a sense of community with the understanding that not everybody's comfortable going on YouTube and chronicling their brewing journey. And we understood that. It was more so about the community. And so we figured, at the height of COVID, there's no better homebrew club. We looked around and we saw our local homebrew clubs fumbling around with the concept of Zoom, trying to understand how we were going to get beers to one another, so on and so forth. When we said, well, we've been shipping beers to each other for years. We've been meeting on Zoom, ad hoc for years, not in an official fashion, just meeting to drink beer, shoot the shit. And so we already had the processes, we had the experience, we had everything in place. It was just a matter of formalizing it. And so we became officially recognized by the AHA as an official homebrew club. We filed as a kind of a nonprofit, so to speak, and we set up the dues structure. And I spent months or weeks, really, building out the bylaws to suit what Brewtubers was going to be. And so, to answer your question, the goal is to get the biggest group of folks, of like-minded folks together, to talk as recent as much or as little as they want, ranging in levels of commitment. I would say I'm probably on the higher end of commitment level when I'm putting 10 grand into the brewery and then another 10 grand like a maniac, buying a 65-liter system. I have 4 all-in-one electric systems in total. All this, I have a canner, all this crazy shit, all the way at the top and then to the very bottom, which is folks, we get a lot of folks come in that are just learning about the hobby, that have only done 1 or 2 batches of LME and that are interested in only doing LME, but have 1,000 questions. Going on a forum and posting like you did 10 years ago is not tenable now. Now we have Discord, which we have, over 150 people in the Discord. We have over 40 members, paying members every month, paying members, like full on paying members that pay every month. And when you go in and ask a question, you're getting an answer within seconds, minutes, whatever you need. And you're getting multiple different opinions. So that's what we're designed to do, is where Brewtubers is designed to bring in people of all different skill levels, non-brew tubing, brew tubing, everybody to come together in an attempt, as I'm long-winded as it comes, in an attempt to increase the interest in the hobby ultimately.
Oh, dude, I love it. Long-winded. I like I said, I'm having to rein myself in because I was like, and then me, and I'm going to add what I want to say. No, that was
a constant struggle with me. Absolutely brutal.
Me too, yeah. And then, like I said, I blame something. Like my wife will say something like, I'm autistic. You just shout that out. It becomes true. You say it 3 times or something, Beetlejuice or whatever. Anyway, no, what is beautiful because the hobby, like, there are people who are content with stovetop LME, or there are people who want to drop $100,000 on what is essentially what microbrewery is used for, a pilot system, but for their garage. So like there is this big spectrum, and it is admirable to try to be inclusive because the shared factor or component rather for all of us is making beer that we enjoy drinking. Like that. That's
and beer by nature is inclusive. When you think about wine is built to be a pretentious dickhead. Like beer is designed to be communal. It's an activity that you're doing with others, and so that's kind of the thing. And with homebrewing with the club, like we have people that have come in going like, I got a buddy in the club. His name's Matt, Irondale Brewing on YouTube. He's an absolutely brilliant person, put together our brand new website, helped put it together with another club member. And the reason why I bring him up is because he came in brewing 2.5 gallon batches. I think the obsessiveness of the folks of many folks in the club, it's contagious. And so next thing you know, he's buying a Brewzilla. Next thing, he goes from stovetop to Brewzilla. He's buying a 65-liter Brewzilla. He's doing 5-gallon batches. He buys a Firmzilla. And so now he's more interested. He's engaging with us with a lot more club activities, because we do have club activities we can discuss. And so he started at 2.5 gallons, but now he's helping be a webmaster for our new website. He's doing 5-gallon batches, brand new system, a canner, this, that, and the other. And so it's really, we're a very infectious, in a good way, infectious group of people to be around if you want to be more passionate about the hobby.
Right. And I like that. I like the vigor that you have about it, because that is a good segue into like what you're saying. What are some of the stuff y'all are doing not entice to create community? Like you were just saying, you'll have events. So it's not just we did on Discord every now and then. I mean, y'all are actively doing like events, beer shares. Do y'all host like club competitions? Like talk about stuff people who may be interested in joining can expect when they when they join the Brewtuber community.
joining the Brewtuber community, there are so many things now that we do that back, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they weren't doing. We have monthly club meetings that are very structured. We have officer report outs. We have any outstanding items that folks want to bring. So we have monthly club meetings, and then we have what we call monthly happy hours, and they're once a month on a Friday, and we all get together literally to jump on the Zoom and talk about home brewing. We have two very strong rules. You don't talk about politics and you don't talk about religion. We talk home brewing, sports, anything that may come to mind. With Zoom, you can break off into separate Zooms to talk about something specific with someone if you want. So we have club happy hours. We have the club meetings, as I spoke about. We have club experiments once a year, which is a sponsor requirement. We do a club experiment. The club votes on what experiment we're going to do. So, for example, last year we did a fruit experiment. Everybody brewed the exact same recipe for a strawberry Hefeweizen, wheat beer, American wheat beer. What we all did was utilized a different strawberry product. We all brewed it. We packaged it. We sent it to a hub, one location. You pay for shipping one way, and then we pay for shipping as a club back to you. The sponsors generally will give us free product. So we had Beer and Wine Hobby, which is our official online homebrew store out of Danvers. They're in-person homebrew store too, but Danvers, Massachusetts. They gave us a $50 gift card. 5 Star Chemicals, who is another sponsor, gave us free product. They gave us some Santa Clean and a big thing of different things of PBW. So the hub throws in all the free product, and then everybody's respective beers, ships a box back to you. You drink the beers and you talk about them and rate them based on what beer you like the most based on the strawberry product on YouTube. So every sponsor will get a specific intro that I create that every brewer has to put at the beginning of their video, and they do one review per beer, and they'll drink it, they'll rate it in relation to the other beers, and it's a great way to learn about home brewing. It's a great way to learn about what that one variable does. Now, because we're all home brewers, it's not a guaranteed science. The beers by nature will range in ABV and IBU, but it's the same recipe. It's the same water profile. We even go down to the water profile. You have to have RO or distilled water. You brew the same water profile, the same beer. And instead of brewing a beer 9 different times, you're in an experiment with 8 other people, and you get to learn what the variable you like the most. So this year, we're doing an amber ale, I believe, and we're all brewing with a different specialty malt. Same beer, different specialty malt. So the SRMs are going to be different. The IBUs, again, it's going to range a little bit. ABVs are going to range, but everybody gets to pick their own specialty malt. You brew the beer, you send it to a hub, they send you back a box, and that's the only requirement. That's the only thing that this club does that requires you to have either a YouTube channel or be open to recording your own videos, and we'll post on the club YouTube channel. Because we do have a club YouTube channel that isn't super active. We only use it to store our club meetings and stuff. But that's the only thing. You can still join the club. You can be a paying member. You get all the great benefits of being a paying member. It's just that if you want to be in the experiments, if you want to brew in them, you need to have a YouTube channel or be willing to record. And then we have a taster option. Depending on the experiment year, we have a taster option where you don't need to necessarily, it depends on the experiment. Sometimes you don't need to have a YouTube channel. You just will get a box of beer shipped to you at your expense, and you can drink them and
right. I'm assuming, I don't want to get this wrong. There are people who could be in your community and not take part of this thing and not have to have a YouTube or record themselves or anything.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Just making that clear. Yes. Yeah.
You do not need to have a YouTube channel in any form or fashion to be a paying member of the club. You will still, you'll still get the benefits of being able to attend a club meeting every month, being able to attend our happy hours. We have open Zooms twice a year, once for Learn to Homebrew Day and once for Big Brew Day. I think that's what the 2 events. I know one of them is Big Brew Day. We have an open Zoom, which is a great recruiting tool for us. It's open from 8 a.m. until the wee hours of the morning, depending on what club member is on hosting it. It's so on and so forth. And it's been a great recruitment tool for us. You can come to those. Again, you can, the Discord allows you paying access, non-paying access. You only get access to the lobby. We have over 15 sub channels, everything from equipment reviews, equipment questions, to a sports channel where we talk about sports, brewing and non-brewing, a food channel. Most home brewers are great cooks. We have a food sub channel that you can, kind of chat with. And it's been, paying membership, $48 a year gets you access to that. There's a whole list of benefits you get by going on the website, brewtubers.com, membership benefits tab, and you can see everything that we offer that gives you access to as a paying member.
In your opinion?
And most,
go ahead,
so just real quick, I'll say that most paying members, though, will tell you we do a once a year meetup called the Homebrew Brew Union, where everybody meets up. The club expends $500 to everybody there. Like, not everyone, not every person gets $500. It's $500 total. And we spend that money on beer and food while we're there for the weekend. The club votes on the location. The club votes on the dates. And so last year we did Philadelphia in, I think it was October. 8 of us went. $500. You'd be surprised how far that stretches when you're only buying beer and
for
food.
8 people.
It's really, And so you pay for your travel there. Yeah. You pay for an Airbnb if you want to stay with us, a hotel, an Airbnb if you want to stay away from us, whatever the case may be. We have we put together a regimented kind of list of activities where we're always doing something. We're not just sitting around the Airbnb drinking beers like a bunch of dickheads. We're going out, we're seeing breweries, we're going to brewery tours, we're going to all these different places. We're coordinating things. We have an events manager, Chris from Burgles Brewing, who you spoke to. He is our events manager, so he helps coordinate everything. So we really have a tight process for things that give our members. That's also paying member access only. If you don't pay to be a member, you can't come and get the benefits of the $500 and everything else. So it's been the reason why I bring that up with the Brew Union is most paying members will tell you the value is, a lot of them think they want the value in the freebies and in whatever is included. Master Homebrewers program, a membership to that's included, $25 value. The reality is that the value's in the membership. The value is the friendships. I personally, Josh, have 2 or 3 best friends I can think of that if I were to get married today as opposed to 12 years ago, my wedding party would look completely different than it is now because of those people. Like, I have very best friends. I know everything about them. I've met them multiple times in person, brew union related, non-brew union related. Now it's to the point where they're traveling to my house once a year. We brew 5 beers in a day and they stay over my house. I host them for the weekend. Yeah. So, and that you can actually find that YouTube video on my channel. Exit 12 Homebrew, not Homebrewer.
Like Josh said. The people do whatever they want. Listen, I'm actually right now while you were talking, I made Exit 12 Homebrewer on YouTube. It's just go to me doing weird stuff. People are like, this awesome. Channel's not good.
or they're going to comment, this is way better than Exit 12
this
Homebrew.
Is so much better. Yeah.
I don't have to suffer through a 50-minute grain to glass.
Yeah, right.
Fucking Blondale video.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, I mean, this is off the cuff, but I was just thinking as the AHA, regardless of your opinion on them as an organization, but as they seem to be in this transitionary phase, they're independent and this or that. Do you find either them as a competitor what you're doing, or do you think that y'all are offering something that's a more grassroots or organic feeling community? Because I know the AHA on paper is like the advocate for this hobby, and people can join them, and it's like an online club. But then some people's feedback is less than stellar in regards to it's more of a one-way thing, right? Where do you see like y'all filling this void that some people may be disillusioned from online communities?
Well, for me, I'll be honest, the most important thing, this is going to sound canned, the most important thing to me is growing the hobby, because I'm very passionate. It's the most passionate I've been, as I mentioned. I'm not overly concerned with the hobby in decline. With that said, there is a reality where the hobby is in such decline that I may not be able to get the hops I want one day. I may not be able to get the grain I want. So I do have a vested interest in growing the hobby. So with that said, my main concern, I'm never going to feel like we have competitors. We're at such a great standing as a club. We have our processes, our board is in such tight shape, and we have such a great list, a core group of members. I'm never going to be concerned that we're in competition, so to speak. Also, I'll be completely transparent with you in saying that Drew Beecham, being on the board, the new board of the AHA, has come into our lobby and has been more than welcoming, he's been. Also, I have a fondness with him because he has New England roots, and I'm always going to be a fan
Drew's
of
a good
people.
dude. No, Drew's a good dude. I've met him a few times. He's a good dude. Yeah.
And I've never met him in person. I've listened to his podcast before. I know that he's a really good dude, and he has his best foot forward, his best interests at heart as it relates to the home brewing and growing the hobby. So I think where the AHA was 8 months ago to where it is now, I would argue to anybody that would disagree is that they're in a much better spot. We'll see where it goes. I think I look at the AHA more as a partner and not as a competition. I also look at them as they do something completely different. Like, we have monthly club meetings where we're a legitimate homebrew club. I think that their main goal is increasing increasing interest in the hobby. And I think that we can work very closely in that manner.
Yeah, absolutely. That didn't sound canned. That was actually the most cordial you've been this whole show. That was great.
I don't think I swore once.
You did. That's what it was. Yeah.
You said earlier I was all right to do it.
You were, yeah. I'm going to actually dub in some F-bombs during that little talk about the AHA, just so people think I didn't edit anything. Bleep, 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 bleep. No, I don't edit this show at all. I'm that lazy. I made poor Nick sit through all the opening bumpers. You probably think I'm just peacocking. We have sponsors, but no, it's because I'm lazy and don't want to add that in post-production. I
was impressed. My back hurt from leaning over waiting to talk, but I was impressed.
Yeah. 9 minutes later, no wonder people tune out. Ugh. I won for April Fools this year. We didn't do a video, but I considered just doing a normal show and then injecting a bunch of fake ads, because people tell me at least you don't inject ads in the middle like some podcasts. That's the worst. And so I'm just antagonistic. Don't tell me what to do or not to do. You don't want ads in the middle of the show. Now this show is going to be 20 minutes of content and 40 minutes of ads. That's what we're doing.
Right.
This whole show is an ad for Brewtubers. We tricked you. Ha!
And that'll be the one that gets the most views.
Of course it will.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a. Anyway, so yeah, and also meant to say, I didn't want to interrupt you earlier. Yeah, Chris is a good dude. I forgot how I met Chris the first time, if he was in our Patreon, or I know I've seen him before at some homebrew cons. Y'all, I've seen your picture. Y'all are no strangers to other community events like homebrew cons and all that.
We poured homebrew con too. Like we shipped our whole setup, which was like a stainless steel kind of frame setup with a TV on top with our tap list for homebrew con. I want to say it was Rhode Island. It was either Providence. Yeah, it was Providence. And it was our first time pouring, but we were the only club there that's online based that was pouring at HomebrewCon, and so naturally that comes with a lot of questions. And so, yeah, we have a very core group of folks that are very, very, very passionate about the hobby. And with that said, I don't want it to scare away new or intermediate brewers, because we have a spot for everybody, and we're willing and as patient to explain things to folks who have questions. I'm 10 years in, I still have questions. That, we all have questions reaching out, and it's great to get so many different answers and people with different opinions and things like that. And so, yeah, we have I think in honesty, having a core group of committed folks is really important for us.
It is. And to touch on your overwhelming point before I wrap it up, that community is like the key for me that keeps me brewing. Like my pop and I started brewing together in 2017, and I like the guy enough as it is. Don't get me wrong. He listens to the show, so I have to say something. But he's become one of my better friends, one of my best friends through brewing, because we brew every month together and we hang out. And, you're not like, I am an active brewer in regards to there's always something to do. But bonding is like the one thing brewing does with people there present at the brew day. Yeah. And in a community, a homebrew club is just so, it can be so vital to someone's passion for the hobby. And that goes with all hobbies, right? Like, I mean, like I was telling you earlier, like doing jujitsu, like it'd be very difficult to do it without a community. Well, that's a bad example, because you literally wrestle the air or whatever.
Right. But well, and I will say, I think it's great that you have that relationship with your dad. It brings people together, right? That, again, beer in general being a communal hobby, but home brewing, bringing your dad together, you and your dad, that's great. From my standpoint, like if I brewed with my dad, he's a Jew from Boston. We're Jews from Boston. He's George Costanza on steroids. I'd want to strangle him almost immediately.
It actually sounds great.
It just wouldn't work.
No,
I love my father. He's the best. I gotta tell you,
now.
Yeah. It just wouldn't. He is George Costanza on steroids. There'd be 7,000 questions about everything. He'd be asking if I got the grain on sale. It'd be a whole thing. And as a Jew from Boston, I can tell you, it wouldn't be great.
He's a more Larry David than Larry David. That's fantastic. That's not like he's a mensch. I love it.
Yeah. Well, except Larry David's funny. So there's that.
Your poor Pop.
My dad is just he's just a tough Jew.
Just a tough Jew. I can't say that, so I have to beep that out. I know there's a line. I can't.
No. Listen. No, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
You're welcome to the tribe.
I'm welcome to the tribe.
I've known you for 40 minutes. Welcome to the tribe.
Thank you. I'm gonna abuse it here in about 5 seconds. I'm half brother. I'm half Mexican, and I exploit that side today's my day. It's Cinco de Mayo, and so I'm giving
my dad's birthday.
Is it no kidding? Hey, yeah. But yeah, I've been telling all my white friends, you can say beaner today. It's okay. My mom said it's fine.
Right.
I might have to.
You got to get the seal of approval before you.
I print. I'm not gonna edit nothing out. I printed passes for them. It's legit. It's a business.
You're good to go. Yeah.
Hey, sure. But bringing it back on topic. So people who are listening to this, even if they just want the slightest of information they feel like they did not get from this episode, where can they go to learn more, find out more about y'all's community, and maybe join if they're interested?
Yeah, so go to www.brewtubers.com. Probably didn't need to add the www in, but you never know. And so brand new website, as I said. We're still getting the structure of purchasing a membership. We want to make it more streamlined for us and the board. But if you go on the website, the Discord link is there. When you come into the Discord, somebody will almost always welcome you at first, ask your name, ask how you got into the hobby. We're very welcome. It can be very tough for people going on Zoom when they don't know anybody. It's like walking into a room. It's like I have a 5-year-old. It's like going to his friends from school's birthday party. I want nothing to do with being there. I don't know anybody. He knows all his friends. I don't know the parents. Great. So now I get to spend the next hour and a half talking about the fucking weather and sports as if either one of us gives a shit. So it's kind of, I can understand that anxiety of walking in somewhere and not knowing anybody, but really we're a great group of people that are more than welcoming to folks and really want to get to know you and really want you to be a part of what we're doing. And so you come into the Discord, introduce yourself. A board member will always meet you with, an internet smile and, wanting to ask more about you. And our members themselves are really great folks. So brewtubers.com, join the Discord, get a sense for what we're about first. We've had members that will pay us before they see what we're about, and then we never hear from them again. Don't do that. The club is in perfectly great financial standing that I can tell you, I don't want your money until you come in, see what we're about, and then decide if you want to join. I'd rather you'd spend 3 months in the lobby, not paying for membership and deciding what we're about and then paying because you love what we do. I'd rather you do that than to pay and then join, realize it's not for you and not be engaging. We want people that want to be here. So, that want to talk. The Discord's constantly active, Josh. It's every single day. There are days where I don't pop in it and talk. There's somebody there every day, every single day, almost bi-hourly. There's some discussion going on. So it's a really great active group of folks. You'll never find it being defunct for sure.
Perfect. Wonderful. Yeah. Brewtubers.com. And I will put the correct link for Nick's YouTube channel in the show notes. I swear it'll be correct. All over the screen, it's to be popping up. Exit 12 Home Brewer. Exit 12 Home Brewer. No, I'll get the right one.
When is that YouTube channel going to be up and running? When is that Exit 12 Home Brewer channel with you dancing going to be?
It is right now. No.
Right.
Nick, one thing you got to learn about me is I lie.
It's a great concept. It
would be. Yeah.
So Exit 12 Homebrew. Also, I did present on the concept of Brewtubers. If you don't mind me plugging this, you can get rid of it.
No, for sure. Go for it.
5 Star does a monthly, I believe, presenter series where you're interviewed by Erin Hamrick, who is she's a social person. She does marketing over there at 5 Star. We have a great relationship with them as being one of our sponsors. She did an interview with me that's recorded. If you Google 5-star Brewtubers presentation, I'm sure you can find it. But I did, it's not necessarily a podcast because I do it monthly, and it's video format. I take Q&A at the end. Really cool. A really fun interview with her that I did talking about Brewtubers as well. That wasn't nearly as X-rated in terms of language as this one was. But I appreciate Josh for letting me kind of be me. But love Aaron, love the folks at 5-star.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Check, if you want to learn more too, you can go to that interview as well. That was a fun
email
one.
Me that link. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Awesome. And then that way, I want everyone to have the chance to see what y'all are about. Because like you said, I mean, I've known about y'all, but when y'all reached out, is when I kind of, not deep dive, kind of shallow. I looked more into it. I did some homework for this, and not realizing though how much y'all have grown. Because the last time I had exposure to y'all, it was before not rebranding, restructure, whatever that you had explained, and y'all are in a whole different place. It's really impressive. It's cool what y'all are doing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And honestly, like, you came prepared. I'm actually genuinely, I'm not saying this to bust your balls. I'm genuinely impressed that like you had really good questions, and you obviously have done your homework, especially on what Exit 12, my little thing. So I really appreciate, you had some really great questions. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, now I can bust your balls.
Yeah.
But I did want to be genuine.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You suck. Anyways, Nick, thank you, my friend, so much for your time. And we'll have to have y'all on at some point again in the future, and maybe do a Q&A or something for people who are interested, because these kinds of shows definitely always bring in questions. And so instead of just forwarding them to you, we'll figure something out. But
listen, more than happy. Whenever you need me on again, I'm more than happy to pop on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time, my friend.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. But even better, get yourself a gift card to techconnection.com by calling 325-305-6107 and leaving us a voicemail question. Thank you to our sponsors like Munton's Malt Premium Grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton's, give them a try by joining the Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of premium Imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Again, my friends, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.